Everybody say Miller School.
Miller School.
Miller School is one of our 8 schools in the district named Centralia. No questions right now? This is listening time. Everybody say Centralia.
Centralia.
And Centralia is the district where Miller is. And you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret. You are the first people to know this in this school. Centralia School District is 150 years old this year. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Everybody say, wow.
Wow.
150?
150.
Now, I'm going to teach you a fancy college word for 150. You have to listen to it because I want you to repeat it after me. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial.
We almost got it. I'm going to say it one more time. Sesquicentennial. Centennial. Wonderful. Sesquicentennial, that's what we're here to celebrate. And I have a special story to tell you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
But this is not a regular story like the stories you're used to seeing with a lot of pictures. This is a story that you have to make up the pictures in your mind, okay? And to make up pictures in your mind, your number one job is to be a listener and to let the person next to you listen. Are you ready to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a few pictures. I may show them to you. But I'm going to start. And I know some of the words are hard, but that's okay because we're going to use some college words, grown-up words, to talk about the history of the Sesquicentennial. You ready to listen?
Yeah.
All right. The year was 1875. America was still healing from the wounds of the Civil War, and the West was alive with opportunity. There were railroads from everywhere coming to cross new paths to this new place called California. And all around us, there were citrus groves, orange trees, spread out across Southern California. And families searching for stability planted roots in what would later become the cities of Anaheim. Can you repeat after me? Anaheim, La Palma, and Buena Park. Good listening. Among those settlers was a community with a dream to educate their children. They built a modest one-room schoolhouse known as the Centralia Schoolhouse. How many rooms did that school have? One. Good listening. One room. Does your school have one room?
Yes.
Your classroom has one room, yes. But the school is big. But back then, the school only had one classroom like yours. This schoolhouse was surrounded by fields and dust, and you have beautiful desks and beautiful chairs. But back then, the students had wooden benches, and they had slate boards. And there was one teacher in the entire school, and that teacher did all the work. The teacher taught, the teacher cleaned the school, the teacher paid the bills, the teacher did everything. And in that small space, the people from back then, they planted the seeds of the future that would endure a whole generation. Now, the district's trustees embodied the pioneer spirit. They were not just administrators, they were farmers. They were fathers, they were neighbors. They wanted more than crops and cattle. They wanted literacy. What did they want? Literacy. That means for their children to read. They wanted opportunity. What else did they want?
Opportunity.
And they wanted hope.
Hope.
And a better future for their children. Look at this lovely picture of farmers planting literacy. What are they planting? Crops or books? Books. Knowledge for your head, right? Knowledge for your mind. Let me turn my page here. Their little schoolhouse, a one-room schoolhouse named Centralia School, became the heart of the community. Imagine, in that one-room schoolhouse, there were 35 students. They ranged in age from 5 years to as old as 15 years old, all in the same classroom. They would come to school walking through miles of dirt and fields. They would come to school carrying a lunch pail, a bucket, and in that bucket was their meal for the day. On average, though, only 9 students came to school back then. Now, we know that this one little room schoolhouse had one teacher. And did you know that way back then, teachers were paid $60 for the whole month of work? Wow. Now, how did our district get its name? Centralia School District. Everybody say Centralia.
Centralia.
I'm going to tell you the secret of how our district got its name. In that long, long time ago, we have a street that runs through our community. It is now called Crescent Street, Crescent Avenue. Back then, that street was named Centralia Street, and it ran through the whole farming community where wheat, corn, oats, and other crops were raised. It was for Centralia Street that Centralia School District was named. Centralia has the word central in the middle, and Centralia was the middle of the community, the heart of the community, and that is why we got our name, Central. Centralia. Now, a new school was built in 1888. While there are no pictures of that school, it was a long time ago, we do know what the school looked like because people from back in the day used to talk about it. That school was an octagon-shaped building. Say octagon.
Octagon.
That means that the school had 8 sides. Can you show me 8 fingers? 8 fingers. Oh, we're kindergartners here. Fantastic. We're learning 8 fingers. Fantastic. Hands down now. Thank you. There were 8 sides to that school, and there was something special about it. At the top of the school, there was a tower. And do you know what they used to build that tower? The local community members took pieces of bottles, broken glass, and they used that glass to cover the entire top of that building. And when the sun would shine on that building, it would glisten, and it would send off beautiful colored rays throughout the community. In fact, they say that when people on horseback were riding through the community, they would use that school as a beacon, and they would say, "Oh, when you get to the bottle school, make a left. That's the direction you want to go in," because that school glistened so much that it was an important beacon for the community. One day, the kids were in class in that bottle school. A fire started in the school. There was a little room next to the schoolhouse itself, and in that little room there was a stove, and the stove was too close to the wall, and the wall caught on fire, a real fire at the school. The teacher calmly saw the smoke, looked at the students, and said, "Everybody, exit the room, please." And the children all walked out. This was the very first fire drill in the Centralia School District. Do you know that at that time, the students were allowed to ring the bell, and there was a large bell outside of the school. And because students were exiting and the building was on fire, one of the students went to the bell and started to pull the lever, and the bell started to clang and clang and clang and clank and clank, and that was the alert. It was an alarm, and all of the farmers from the community, they ran to find out, why is the bell ringing in the middle of the day? The bell only rings at the start of the day. And what they discovered was that the school was on fire. So right away, they got together in a row. That's called a bucket brigade. And there was a well near the school, and they started to use the buckets that the kids use for their lunches. And they would get water from the bucket and pass the bucket on from one person to the next. And that is how they put out the fire from the bottle-shaped school. Isn't that interesting? It's so interesting. Now, our district is super old. We were established in 1875, but something special happened in 1889. The County of Orange was born. We are older than the County of Orange. And when that happened, our district stopped being part of Los Angeles County, and we became a part of Orange County. Now, how did the early students dress? How did they study? And what did they play? Well, the teachers and the girls all had to wear long skirts. And some of the children rode to school on horses. Others walked to school. The boys typically wore clothing that you would see in the farm. I read a story that said that the teacher really expected children to wear shoes to school. Do you wear shoes to school?
Yes.
Well, back then in the 1800s, if the children didn't want to wear shoes in the classroom, they would just take their shoes off and leave it outside the door and go into the classroom barefoot. I know, that was allowed. So funny. The students would use a bucket. You have a lunch pail, right?
Yes.
They did not have lunch pails. They had a bucket, and they used the bucket as their lunch pails. And sometimes, because there's no air conditioning in that one-room schoolhouse, sometimes it was hot, like today. And do you know what the teacher would do? With great frequency, there were beautiful trees all outside of the school. And the teacher would say, "It's time to learn outside." The class would walk outside. They would sit under the shade of a tree. And the children would take their bucket, that was their lunch pail. They would take that outside with them, flip the bucket over, and they would use that as their chair. Very creative ways, right? To be. It was a very normal thing for the classroom teacher to do their lessons outside under the tree. Would that be fun?
Yes.
Yes, it would be, huh? Now, at that time, there was no PE, no physical education. And do you want to know why?
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. Remember that the children would walk to school? Some of them lived as far away as 4 miles. That is far, 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 far away. And because they lived as far as 4 miles, that was a lot of exercise for them. So that was considered their exercise for the day. Now, what did children play back in the day? Do you know what marbles are? No, some of you don't. Some of you do. Oh, we'll have to bring marbles one day. Wonderful.
I've been in a class.
Wonderful. Marbles are a game that was so popular back then. And there's also this one game called Tops. Everybody say Tops.
Tops.
Tops is this little wooden object that you would roll a string through it, and then you would fling the string, and the little top would just spin. And the objective of the game was to keep the top spinning as long as you could. Those were some of the games from yesterday. Education was changing in the early 1900s, and in the early 1900s, the community in that area decided that they wanted more practical instruction for their children. They wanted less lessons on Latin and Greek, which were languages that nobody spoke at that time, but it is what was taught. And they wanted more practical lessons like mathematics and like how to build things and science and reading and things that students would find of practical use in their community. In 1919, as our nation was in the midst of World War I, our Centralia students also participated in the war effort by collecting colored paper off of tin cans to be used for dye. They collected tinfoil, which is like aluminum paper, and they collected peach pits, which would then be used for making charcoal. The school even created a victory garden to help grow crops for the community. Their effort was celebrated by the entire community and was seen as something very patriotic. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, but before I do, everybody sit up tall. We're going to do one breathing. I want your spine to be nice and tall and straight because that's how you get the oxygen in your brain. Everybody, deep inhale. Hold it. Hold your breath. Exhale. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a story about something super special in our district, and it is the story about our bell. Now, back then, students were taught and they were learning. But how did students learn and know when it was time to get into class? There wasn't an alarm system like we have nowadays. What we had in that one-room schoolhouse was a bell. Of course, this is a traditional bell. We have that bell. That bell comes to us from New York City. And this was a traditional bell that people used to love in the community. When it was in the schoolhouse, it was hung way up high on top, as high as the people could hang it in the schoolhouse. And it was rung by pulling on bell ropes. There were ropes that hung down from the bell, and the children would take turns pulling the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. Inside the bell, there was a clapper, and it would strike off and sound waves that carried the news of the day throughout and across the fields. Who rang the bell? Do you know who rang the bell? Who do you think? Yes.
Teacher.
You know what? The teacher gave the honor of ringing the bell to the first student who arrived to school. Would you like to be the student who had that honor?
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been fun. Let's pretend we're ringing the bell. Ready? Wait. Now, the bell had two long ropes. So you're going to hold it with two hands because it was heavy. And we're going to go, when we go down one, we're going to make a clang sound. Ready? Clang! Clang! One more time. Clang! We sound almost as beautiful as that original bell. Thank you. Let me keep reading my story. The Centralia school bell was a very important symbol to almost everybody back in the day. It hung on the bottle school. Remember I told you about the bottle school that was made out of bottles and shimmered in the sunshine?
Yeah.
Well, remember that I told you that there was a fire at the school. Do you remember I said that?
Yeah.
When the fire started and the community started to run to extinguish the fire, many of the community people went straight for the bell. They wanted to save the bell. They did not want it to burn or melt away. The bell survived that fire. When the old bell was removed from the bell tower of the Centralia School in 1958, the people became super upset. They were so upset they went to the Board of Education and they complained. They said, "Why are you removing the bell from the school? The bell is important. Save the bell." They wanted to save the bell. The bell was actually stored in one of our schools at Dysinger School for a little bit of time while the original district office was built in the late 1950s. And then at that time, that original bell from the Bottle School was proudly put on display in front of the original district office. But then in the early 2000s, there were people going around, robbers, thieves, who wanted to take the bell and melt it. So the district took the bell, put it in a box, and hid it. They put it in storage so that one day we would be able to hang the bell again. That bell, if you ever come to our district office, that bell is now proudly on display right there in our new district office next to our community room. Maybe one day, since you're doing such a great job listening, we'll do a little field trip so you can come and see the bell. Who would like to come and see the bell? Okay, promise made, promise kept, Miss Marcoli. We're doing a field trip. Thank you. By 1934, the school had 89 students. 89 students! And it was too many students to have in that school. So, the people of the community got together and they said, we must build a new school. What did they say? We must build a new school. Are schools expensive to be built? Yes. So they had to do what's called a bond. That means that the district had to ask the community if they would be willing to pay for a school. So they put it up to a vote, and the community voted. Do you think it passed or it failed? No, it failed. It failed. The community said, no, we're not giving you money to build a new school. And so what happened is, because we couldn't have room for all the kids in our school, new districts were formed. So some children went to a new district called Magnolia, another district called Cypress, another district called Buena Park. But the townspeople of Centralia were not happy. And one person in particular said, no, this cannot be. We want Centralia. So he worked very hard to put the bond up for another vote. And he again went and they asked the community, will you please help us pay for a new school? And what do you think the vote was this time around? Yes. By one vote, the community said, yes, build a new school. So we built a new school. Isn't that great? Yes. That's why your vote is important when you grow up. That new school became what we call Centralia School. So as the decades rolled on, hardships struck. The Great Depression of the 1930s devastated families. The fields went fallow. The jobs disappeared, but yet the school endured. Teachers became more than instructors. They were the lifeline to the community. Centralia schools were not just about arithmetic and spelling. They were sanctuaries of hope. They were places where children can come and think about their future. Everybody say, what will I be when I grow up? Ready?
What will I be when I grow up?
Oh, we're going to say it together. Ready? What will I be when I grow up? Now, the names of schools that would later rise, Raymond Temple, Las Coyotes, Miller School, San Marino, they trace their origins back to this era of persistence. These were not just buildings, these were promises kept. But then came World War II, and our nation was again at war. Fathers, brothers, and sons, they left the fields for the battlefields. And at home, mothers worked in factories. The children once again gathered scrap metal and the schools stayed as community anchors. By the late 1940s and the 1950s, as veterans returned and the nation experienced a boom, Centralia had its first official modern-day superintendent, and his name was Glenn Dysinger. What was his name?
Glenn Dysinger.
I will tell you something that Glenn Dysinger did a lot. He would drive to Sacramento and go and tell the state representatives, we need more money, we need more schools, we have a lot of children in our community and we need to build more schools. He led the district in this new era. The schools expanded in what we call a baby boom generation. And Dysinger's vision that every child deserved a modern classroom shaped a district ready to grow with its families. It was under his leadership that schools like Raymond Temple, Miller School were born. These names were not random. They honored the names of families and leaders who gave themselves to the district's success. In the 1960s and the 1970s, there was another huge cultural shift in our community. Across the nation, there was this movement, the civil rights movement, that was taking hold. And in our Centralia community, diversity started to grow. There were immigrants coming to our community, children whose parents came from Mexico, who came from Vietnam, who came from Korea or the Middle East. They joined desks that were almost always filled by children who were the children of farmers. The district rose to meet this challenge. They created new programs for English learners, and they reflected an America ready to embrace its identity. Centralia's schools, San Marino, Miller, and Buena Terra, became symbols of inclusion in a time when a nation struggled to define its identity. These schools welcomed immigrants from all over and opened our doors so that we can have the beautiful mosaic of people that we have in our classrooms now. In the 1980s and the 1990s, we have the invention of computers. Budget crisis. Oh no, there's no money around. And debates about the future of public education. But Centralia School District never lost its identity. Our teachers pioneered technology way ahead of, bless you. Our teachers pioneered technology integration, and they kept strong ties with our families. PTA meetings, celebrations, and school carnivals kept alive the sense of neighborhood schools rooted in the community. This was an era when Los Coyotes School became known for its innovation, and the district leaned into programs that prepared our children for a changing world. The new century arrived with challenges no one could foresee. Economic recession tested the district's finances, and yet Centralia stood tall. Trustees and superintendents, from Dr. White to Dr. Carlisle to me, your superintendent, Ms. Martinez, who carry the mantle today, we push forward a vision of excellence for all. The district has embraced technology, equity, and a focus on the whole child. From a one-room schoolhouse to 21st century classrooms like your classrooms with smartboards and Chromebooks, maps and beautiful desks and beautiful facilities for you to use, Centralia's arc reflects the nation itself. Today, the Centralia Elementary School District stands as one of the oldest districts in the county. Remember, we are older than Orange County. We're older than many of the cities we serve. It's not just a school system, but it's alive. It's a living legacy. built on the sweat of trustees and early pioneers and the resilience of countless teachers and families who refused to give up on education for their children. From chalkboards to tablets, from lanterns to smartboards, from a handful of students to the thousands of students we have in our district now, Centralia's story is America's story. It is one of perseverance, reinvention, and hope. Its history mirrors the history of America itself, born in hope, tested in hardship, expanded in prosperity, transformed by diversity, and propelled by innovation. And so today, when we speak of Centralia, we're not just telling the story of a history of a district from a long, long time ago. You are now a proud part of the district's history. We're telling the story of generations who believe in the power of learning. Do you believe in the power of learning?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the power of learning?
Yeah.
Say, I believe in the power of learning.
I believe in the power of learning.
Say it like you mean it. I believe in the power of learning.
I believe in the power of learning.
And it is this learning that is going to continue to transform the challenges we may face in your future into opportunities, one child at a time. And that, my friends, is the history of the Centralia School District. Yay! Let's give it a big round of applause. Boys and girls, can I just say something to you?
Yes.
I'm going to need your eyes on me. I just read a story to you that was filled with college words. I'm sure some of the words were words that you don't know yet. But do you know what I noticed? I noticed your eyes looking at me. I noticed your ears listening. I could see your brain spinning, trying to make meaning of the words that I was saying. And do you know what else I saw? I saw the pride of your teacher, who is working so hard with you to make sure that your learning continues. And I also had a chance to see your family through the great work that you're doing. So can I just say thank you to all of you for being fantastic scholars? And because you were fantastic scholars, Pinky promise, she's going to represent you, that we're going to do a field trip. So you can come to the district office, so you can see the bell. I want you to see it, because now you know the story of the bell. The bell that survived a fire. It survived an earthquake. And people, the children, rang the bell like they wanted to. And we have that bell. That bell belongs to you. It is the Centralia School District bell. 1, 2, 3. We believe in the power of learning!